Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to hear your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Random. Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a good show for you today. Of course. Got a lot to talk about. Am I going to talk about shutdown? Yeah, in between, etc. But we got a lot to talk about. Anyway, welcome aboard, AVQ, Brooklyn, New York. How are you doing? We also have in the house Paul Fleming in from Powder Springs, Georgia. Yvette Avery Herod, Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome aboard. We have in the house, Lee the Bearcat, Austin, Texas. Paul Fleming in from, I call Paul Griff. Let's see who else. Joe from Los Angeles, California. Lee Grant, Montgomery County. We also have Karen Shore from Substack. And remember, we missed a few for the first few dozen. We've got Kim Gray, Farrell Brody, Paisley, I believe, Gene Talmadge, Ernie Boxall. Welcome aboard, folks. We're going to have quite a bit of talking today. I want to start with a TikTok. And it has to do with this doctor on TikTok. I was really happy to welcome Carl Cox from Riverdale, Georgia. All right. Here it is. I think it's a story of compassion, and I want to start there. But before that, let me see if Michael has some messages here. U.S. Today. Human rights press freedom advocates blast journalists impending deportation. Misdemeanor charges against Mario Guevara have been dropped, but an immigration board issued a final removal order for not paying an immigration bond. Mario Guevara has been in ICE detention for 100 days. Arrested under trumped-up charges are for live streaming, reporting on the No Kings protest. This is what it looks like. We also have a CLU. Despite clearly identifying himself as press, Mario Guevara was arrested. Okay, we took that one already. Egberto, can you play this short from now? No, I can't. The last time I did that, they have the music in there that gets me a hit. Michael says, Democracy docket. After meeting with Alex Jones, Tom, DOJ official threatened Sandy Hook first responder with criminal probe. Actually, they dropped it. That story is old. Then walked it back. Ed Martin, the head of the Department of Justice, DOJ, vague weaponized task force, is walking back his recent threat to investigate a now retired FBI special agent who sued the far-right conspiracy theory Alex Jones. Too long, but I'll get to that. All right, let's see what else we got here. Bruce is in from Bruce is in from Minnesota. Man, you do a lot of traveling to see your kids in Minnesota. That's such a good thing to do. Welcome from Minnesota. Eric Hayes is here from Kingwood, Atascocita. Welcome as well. All right, look, I want to play this TikTok, and this is important because the FIFO movement is always there. We know, etc. But there is something else that I want you guys to see what compassion looked like, because we know that those people who are following MAGA are pretty much killing themselves. The lies that they've allowed themselves to accept, killing them. If it's not immediately, it is eventually. And you sit down and a lot of times you just want to say, you know what, MAGA guys, go believe in the crap that you believe. Go ahead and let's go ahead and let you feel the pain that it's going to cause. Let your rural hospitals close. Let your get rid of your vaccines. Do all the silly. Go take Hermectin. Go take all the crap that these guys talk about. Believe all the false history. Go do it and pay the price. But it's not a good thing. Ultimately, if you believe in humanity, compassion has to come into the fold at some point in time. Compassion would have to take some time. It's like, look, Ernie Boxall, a MAGA, talk about Obama lying about the FBI at the Jan 6 protest. There is this big conspiracy movement about 200 FBI agents among the Jan. These guys are trying to work magic to try to isolate the fact that they are terrorists that attacked this Capitol on January 6th. So they're still trying to change history. And guys like Mr. Boxall here in the chat just have to find it. Believe all this crap. What goes through your mind to tell you what your eyes are seeing is not true? But listen to this doctor now, folks. I want you to listen to this doctor, because I guess she has the right attitude, and you could see the pain and the tears in her eyes. Check this out.
You know, before today, when it came to Trump and MAGA and all that, like the fuck around and find out, I was like, they get what they deserve, yeah. Until I just had this 40-year-old white male patient who works in the oil fields in eastern Kentucky, and he's had low back pain for about 2 weeks, right? And then all of a sudden he gets pain in his calf, and he's just like takes off at work at the oil field and like uses a massage gun, drilling his calf. And he says he like comes up his leg, his back doesn't really hurt. And I'm just like, this man has a DVT. And I'm just like, have you had any difficulties breathing? And he's like, yeah, I went to the ER. They gave me medication and said I was having a panic attack. And I was like, okay, did the medication work? He's like, kind of. But this morning I had another one. It was just difficulty breathing and I was coughing. So this man is experiencing pulmonary embolisms, baby pulmonary embolisms. He muscle gunned his calf, which means he broke up the DVT and it's just slowly sending little babies into the lungs. He's having baby pulmonary embolisms, right? And there's a big mama that's going to come behind those. And I don't know when that big mama is going to come. I don't know if it's in 24 hours, 48, 72, 96, but it's coming and he needs to be on DVT prophylaxis right now. So I call his primary care in Eastern Kentucky, and there's no doctors in that clinic, because the one doctor is on vacation and they have nothing but nurses, so they can't prescribe that DVT prophylaxis. So they say he needs to go to the hospital, and the nearest hospital is an hour away. So I have to send him there. And I don't know if he's gonna make it. And he's a virtual patient, like, he don't have my number. It's just so unfair, and it's just so crazy that we've politicized all of these things, and these are people, right? These are people, this is their health. He's a father, he's the breadwinner, and he's having a medical emergency, and he's in a medical desert. And we just keep cutting shit. We just keep cutting it. And it's only going to get worse. All right. That was like a 1 hour call. That was supposed to be literally 5-10 minutes. Because I could not let that get off that call without giving him his next steps. I would not be able to sleep tonight. I still won't be able to sleep tonight. But, all right, that's my TED Talk.
Now, I mean, this video just kept playing in my head over and over as I watched it, and let me tell you why. Because as I'm talking to my audience at KPFT, talking about what this big, bad, dirty, evil bill that Donald Trump and MAGA and all these guys as passed are going to do to their own constituents. You know, she's talking to somebody in rural Kentucky, right? The places that are going to lose their hospital, rural Virginia lost 3 hospitals, right? And it's funny because they asked the MAGA politician when that occurred, and he said it's a good thing because they'll be able to get better care at the distant hospitals. All this guy that she knows is having a DVT needs is a prophylactic that's going to start busting up those clots to prevent it from killing him with a pulmonary embolism when one of those things break. But because he's in a medical desert, his life is in danger. And this is today. This is in this time. After that bill comes into effect more fully, this is not going to be, we are going to see these types of events on steroids. Because doctors like this young woman right here, as she speaks to patients, they are going to know that because of the system, because of Medicare Advantage, because of the decrease in Medicaid, because of all these different policies passed by Republicans to save $1 trillion to give to wealthy people, they know a lot of these breadwinners, a lot of these especially MAGA folks, are going to die. When I tell you that many of these folks have bought or have voted for their own demise, I am not saying that in passing. I mean that. The idea that we continue to make people foolish, the idea that we continue to promote ignorance, and the idea that so many of these people, including a couple, I notice we don't get a lot, but a couple even in this chat, as you try to inform them about what their people that they think care about them are doing to them. It is pathetic. Now, I did a soliloquy this morning on KPFT that I cleaned up on how on Argentina, $20 billion that Donald Trump is passing on to these guys, that I'd like you to listen to because it is extraordinarily important. And please share, make sure your friends and families hear this, your former friends especially, because it is shameful what we are doing to our own. It is shameful. Let me go ahead and play that now. Let me put it on to the system, and we are going to listen to that right this minute. I want to talk about our farmers. We kind of touched on this a few times, so it gets a little bit deeper now. Did some research on this a couple of days ago, and Milei, the new right-wing, or not new, but he's been there for a few years, the right-wing leader of Argentina, had big support from the right here and from Trump and all these guys. And they love this guy because unlike the United States, where it's not as easy to it's to simply go to the right and say, I am going to implement all these right-wing features because they're better for the economy, etc. In a lot of these Latin American countries, because they're closer to dictatorships than we are, when you elect somebody, they can go ahead and just do as they please. And that's what Milei did in Argentina. And so he put the right-wing policies, Project 2025, on steroids in Argentina. And it destroyed the Argentinians' economy. And when I say destroyed the economy, I mean it. Argentina used to be one of the richest countries in the world, one of the richest Latin American countries in the world as well. And now they're nothing more than a poor country. And this was all done by right-wing crap, not by a social state. They'd have you believe this was because of a social state. No. What Milei did is what a lot of the Republicans want to do here in the United States, and create something called austerity. Austerity means we reduce the people's pensions that's provided by the government. We reduce government services. We reduce all these things that the government provide. And by the way, when we talk about the government providing, remember what we're talking about. Things that are provided through taxing those who should be taxed, right? All of us, that is. And so that's what was doing. So the system completely failed. They pegged their money against the dollar. So whereas some currencies are pegged towards gold, some silver, and ours towards the faith in the United States, the Argentinian government pegged their money to the dollar. What that also means, right, is you don't have flexibility. If you don't have your money pegged to the dollar, let me just say a little bit of economy here. If you have your own currency, what's known as sovereign currency, and you do everything in your currency, if things get out of whack in your country, right, you can devalue your currency so that the stuff that you export, etc., becomes much cheaper. So if you do that relative to the dollar, a lot of your products would be sold and your economy can get rejiggered because the exchange rate reflects, the power of your currency, etc. And you can make adjustments to your thing. Of course, imports become more expensive, but a country like Argentina that has a lot of resources, from cattle to farmland to all that good stuff, a lot of stuff would be more expensive, but a lot of stuff would be just fine as well. But the truth is, they don't really believe in free enterprise. What they implemented was capitalism on steroids. And that simply is an extractive system that doesn't work. So what happened? It failed. Just like when Bush came into power, what they attempted to do failed. Just like what Reagan's austerity, etc., failed until he implemented Keynesian economics. Nobody tells you that. But this great Reagan $16 million jobs, and by the way, Clinton had more in $20 million, and he did the exact opposite of what, well, not the exact opposite. He did quite a few things differently than Reagan did. But not until Reagan implemented Keynesian economics, which what it meant is that the government is a spender of last resort. So in building the military, in not getting rid of certain forms of welfare, etc., the economic motor ran crazy. Just like what Biden did with the IRA and all these other policies, the economy took off. People say, well, what about inflation? Well, Argentina would love to have the inflation under the worst part of what Biden did, but we didn't get that. But anyhow, going back to the form at hand. So Milei implemented it on steroids. And what that meant is that they needed support. They needed support. And the United States, of course, with its tariffs that's killing the farmers and all these things right now, had some cash in the bank. Of course, we owe a lot of money, but hey, that is still cash we didn't expect, right? So right then and there, guess what Brother Trump did? Because he loves Milei. Milei is his friend, right? So he decided to bail him out, bail Argentina out, and gave Argentina $20 billion. Are there any farmers listening to me right now? Right now, we don't even have a bill. We don't even have a bill in Congress, a Congress run by the people you put there, farmers. We don't even have a bill out there that is saying, well, since we killed the farmers' soybean market, let's give them a subsidy. By the way, I don't really support that a subsidy should happen under what you guys believe in, but let's give them a subsidy so that they don't lose their farms to the corporate sector. Well, there's not even a bill out there for that. The best that we got is Donald Trump, when somebody challenged him about tariffs, came out and said, oh, we're working on something for the farmers. Well, let me tell you about the something they're working on. Let me tell you something else that's happening to you, soybean farmers. When Donald Trump gave $20 billion to Argentina to bail them out, it also left open for Argentina to do what it needed to do best. Or not best, but what it also did. China went to Argentina to build ports. China went to Argentina to buy soybeans. So now we are, with our American dollars that we received from the tariff that is killing the American farmer, that money is going to Argentina to support them as China uses Argentina as its new market for soybeans. Remember, they buy, I think, 50-something% of the United States soybeans. Now, Argentina and Brazil are populating the biggest purchaser of soybeans on the planet. We are subsidizing them as our farmers' soybeans rot in the field or get thrown into the silos without anybody to buy it. And people may ask, well, why did he bail out? Why did he bail out Argentina, knowing that Argentina is going to be selling soybeans to the Chinese, hurting our farmers? If instead of giving that $20 billion to a country that is actually harming our farmers, shouldn't we just find a way to turn that subsidies into allowing the farmers to save their lands, etc.? We didn't. But you see, I always talk to you about being a billionaire doesn't mean you have much upstairs. The people with a lot upstairs are the people I see in my chats right now. All you guys in the chat right now, the ones that aren't trying to protect these policies, that is, are smarter than any one of those billionaires out there. And I am not saying that to be nice to you. I'm saying that because in the aggregate, it is true. It doesn't take rocket science for you to understand that if you are going to implement these right-wing policies, that you will kill your economy. Doesn't take rocket science to do that. Basic Economics 101, if you really ever believed it, would tell you that if you put the money into the hands of people who would spend it, that economy would thrive because of the circulation of money. But if you put that money in the hands of people who are rich, and especially getting rich off the backs of others, there's nobody to spend that money, because the rich doesn't, giving the rich a tax break does not give him an incentive, him or her an incentive to spend anymore. They spend whatever they want. It just gives them an incentive to play more Monopoly with buying other stuff up around the world. And that's what they do. It just doesn't work. But the venture capitalists and the and those people who trade in paper, in their infinite wisdom, they decided to invest in Argentina. And those stocks were going through the basement. They were failing left and right. So if Argentina filed for bankruptcy, well, you know what how countries do. All that investment by these companies, these companies that they don't build anything, they just trade paper. They just trade stocks. They just trade financial instruments. And they made a bet. Remember, I tell you, it doesn't mean that they're smart. They made a bet that austerity would bring back the Argentinians' economy. But any one of you in this chat right now that I'm looking at, you know better. Austerity by design, austerity, if you don't believe in ideology, if you just believe in math, you would understand that austerity by the mechanics is a failure. And it failed in Argentina, and those investors who believe in the crap they talk to you about, austerity and reducing budgets, those stocks were in the dumpers until, of course, their savior, Donald Trump, gave Argentina, or made Argentina aware that they'll have $20 billion to recover to help their economy not fall through the basement. So folks, understand, and I hope there are some farmers that are listening, because this isn't a offshoot or something like that. This is exactly what's being done here in America as well. This is exactly what is being done in America. When you see them cut insurance, and starting in October, remember what this shutdown is going to be about. This shutdown is about Democrats want to reinstitute subsidies for healthcare back in the system, because the big, bad, beautiful bill did not carry forward what Biden did. So therefore, these subsidies will expire. Those of you buying insurance on the exchange, you may think it only affects those people buying insurance on the Affordable Care Act exchange. It is going to be a lot deeper than that, because here's what's about to happen. because these rates are going to go up. Some people are going to have their bill go from about $7,000 a year for health insurance to $24,000 a year. I want you to get this right. Some people, because of the loss of subsidies, will have their healthcare bill, go from about $7,000 a year to $24,000 a year. If you're making $85,000, that's a number, because of the loss of subsidies. Now, what that means is that person who's going to pay $24,000 a year, they are just going to say, I can't pay $3,000 a month in healthcare. And by the way, that doesn't include the co-pays and all of that. That still is in effect. They can't afford that. And that is coming, folks. This is not coming after the 2026 election. This is coming now. In October, you'll see these bills in October. And what that means is a lot of people will say, I just can't pay that, and they will go without insurance. So the insurance companies, not getting money from the government, from the subsidies, not getting money from these people's paying premiums, they will go ahead and have to increase insurance rates, not only for the people on the exchange, but for everybody. And why? Because there's just one big pool of insurance money. Some coming from the government subsidies, some coming directly from people, individuals, and some coming from elsewhere. Look, this is one big circle, one big pool that's managed by others, and by others, that is. And once you take that big thing out, that's what happens. And again, how many people actually know that? That is what the shutdown is going to be about. Okay. And that is going to affect our economy. And that is what, as I'm watching Morning Joe, as I'm watching CBS, as I watch ABC News yesterday, nobody is informing the American people what these things are really all about. So therefore, we can take silly ideological positions. Oh, big government, small government, big, we don't want this. The farmers sealed their own demise. They sealed their own demise. Classes, the upper classes, take care of themselves. Donald Trump didn't bail out the poor in Argentina. Donald Trump bailed out the investors whose investments skyrocketed as soon as he gave Argentina, or proposed to give Argentina, the $20 billion. Folks, did you hear this on mainstream media? And by the way, there are some media that is in fact reporting this, because that's how I got it, from obscure sources who have the receipts, but they don't publicize it for the masses to understand. And that's why we're here. And that's why we do what we do. That is why we do what to do. So, Steve, I don't understand what you said. Stephen says, farmers are about to become billionaires thanks to Trump tariffs. No, they're about to lose their farms, and the agribusinesses are about to buy them up. And exactly as Trump's former agricultural secretary says, we're going to have mostly industrialized farming. So small farmers with 100 acres or 50 acres or whatever, I'm sorry you voted for your demise, and you may have a comeback, but you don't have much time.
No, you don't have much time. You guys better wake up, and you better start voting your interests, and you better start doing it now. Again, we started with a doctor that pointed out how the policies are killing people, and specifically the people that vote for Trump, right, etc. Because when they destroy the healthcare system, look, I'm in Houston. Houston has a medical center. Houston has great healthcare. I mean, if you can afford it, of course, but it's there. The emergency rooms are close by. They're all over the place. We have more emergency rooms than we need in Houston, because there are all these private little things that rip you off all over town, in strip marts everywhere. But you go to a rural area, there ain't anything. And you know why? Because there's nobody to subsidize it. We, the people in the city, we, the people in blue area, we care enough about our rural brothers and sisters that we have been subsidizing them for decades, forever. But the people you voted for, the people that purport to care for you,
want to cut all these budgets, and in the process, all the subsidies that were biased towards you. You take a look at all the things look at the IRA, look at the bill that Biden passed that Donald Trump is trying to get rid of. Where do you think most of the money from the IRA went? The Inflation Reduction Act. Where do you think most of that money went? To blue cities? To blue states? Hell no. Most of that went to red cities. And why did they go to red cities and red states? Because those are the places that need the most money. They're poor. So you guys don't get it. Biden helped you to kingdom come. And for that, you gave Kamala Harris a kick in the butt. I mean, he gave and he gave and he gave, because most of government spending occurs in red states because you guys are poor. You're dependent. You're not self-sufficient. And while the programs that Democrats and progressives try to put forth actually is talking about building people up, you constantly throw yourself down. I want you to listen to this TikTok from my brother Tyson, Neil deGrasse Tyson, because I want you to learn about how Baghdad, which used to be the center of intellect, how it failed. And that is what MAGA is doing to America right now, how it failed. I want you to listen to this. Whoops, wrong one. Wrong one. Here's the one.
1,000 years ago, the intellectual center of the world was Baghdad. Baghdad. Europe was busy disemboweling heretics at the time. Baghdad was open to all thought at the time, between AD 800 and 1100, around there. If you look at the advances that unfolded in that period, in that location, it includes the invention of algebra. Algebra is an Arabic word. Algorithm is an Arabic word. 2/3 of the stars in the night sky that have names have Arabic names. How does that happen? Where did the naming rights come from? It came from the fact that at that time, huge advances in the Middle East, in Baghdad in particular, was unfolded in engineering, mathematics, especially mathematics, astronomy, navigation, physiology. And you say, well, why is that so? If you look at what was going on, they were open to all lines of thought. Jews, Muslims, Christians. There were doubters back then. Today we would call them atheists. They would all come around a table and share ideas. If you have some philosophy that's got holes in it, someone's going to find it. And you're going to challenge you on those ideas. And what happens is the conversation ratchets up. You discard what doesn't work and you keep what does. And when you do that, you make discoveries, and you make discoveries rapidly. And at the time, that period drew to a close. If you read history books, they'll typically describe sort of the sacking of Baghdad. It was a bad time for the city. And they say, oh, it all came to an end. However, the Islamic culture rose at other times later. And in those other times, science and engineering discoveries were not a part of it. So he asked, why not? You got the cultural heritage, why doesn't it show up again? And then you got to dig a little deeper from the sacking of Baghdad, and you find out there was a Muslim cleric, Al-Ghazali was his name, who was to Islam what St. Augustine was to Christianity. St. Augustine kind of laid out the rules for how to be a good Christian at the time. A lot of people were practicing it in their own way. He codified it. He was a religious scholar, figured it out according to his own read, told everybody how to behave. There's the book. You follow this, you're a good Christian. Al-Ghazali said, you follow this, you're a good Muslim. In that text included the assertion, which gained influence socially, but then politically, so then it had power of influence. In there was the assertion that mathematics and the manipulation of numbers was the work of the devil. The entire enterprise collapsed and never recovered. It has not recovered since. If you look at the number of Muslims who have won the Nobel Prize in the sciences, it's one. Number of Jews who have won the Nobel Prize, 1/4 of all Nobel Prizes in science have been won by Jews. How many Muslims in the world? 1.3 billion. How many Jews in the world? 15 million tops. So you look at what effect the culture of discovery and learning can have on what you discover about the natural world. It's extraordinary. So just because you're making discoveries doesn't mean it's forever. And I look at the 20th century in America as a period of great discovery. And then I see forces now operating against it. And then I look at the history of the consequences of this, and I see America just simply fading into insignificance. No, it's not off of a cliff. It's just a slope. And every next day you're a little bit further down on the slope. You barely notice it, right? Until one day you can't see over the hill that you just came from. And then you try to make do with what you have down here, and then you find out it's the rest of the world making the inventions and not you. You're trailing, no longer leading. You're not even abreast with what's going on. You're running behind trying to catch up. Have a nice day. Yes. Okay.
And that is profound, because we are exactly where he's speaking about when the decline started with the sacking of Baghdad. We have the sacking of the American intellect, and we started with the election of a buffoon. A buffoon, well, actually, it didn't start with the election of the buffoon. He is the instantiation of all that was happening to put us where we're at today. Because we had the moral majority and all these guys holding back books and burning books and taking books away and teaching alternate history and talking about the earth being 6,000 years old and wanting to put Bibles as a text in schools and modifying the Constitution, all in inept, designed stupidity. Trying to remove science and intellect from us all. And what it means is that as we do that, because we don't go anywhere, as I'm going to read your stuff, Michael. Michael talk about 2/3 living paycheck to paycheck. Well, if 2/3 of the people live paycheck to paycheck, they can't go anywhere. They can't go and see the world. They can't see what is happening outside of the world. And what you get is that Donald Trump comes out and says, green energy is a farce. It's a farce. And the rest of the world say, ha, 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 ha. America will no longer be a competitor to us. We no longer have to worry about that America's prowess, because they chose to be idiots. So we will go with energy and run. We will go with green energy and green cars and electric cars and all the new technologies. So China picked up the mantra. And now China is building more electric cars than anybody else. They're even building a float of ships that docks in the country, and the cars just come rolling off. While we have old-fashioned old crap called Tesla and Ford and all these others keeping the Chinese cars out because they don't want to have to compete. The degradation of America. When I came to the United States, I remember this, and I'm coming to all the other stuff, but I remember this distinctly. I put this in my book. I remember when my grandfather was the first one of us to come over to this country. This book, As I See It, Class Warfare. I want to tell you what, for all of you who thinks those of us that come over to the States somehow are anti-American and all that crap, we are more Americans many a times than Americans, because we know what the myth was about America, and we wanted to live the American myth. We wanted what America said it was. That's what we wanted. I really want to find a passage in this book, because I never forgot. My grandfather laughed at me so hard. Okay, I think this is it here. America was just... here's what I put in my book. As I See It, Class Warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. This is how we felt about America from looking from the outside in. I wrote, America was respected for its power, Moreover, there was great admiration of many of its strong leaders like President Abraham Lincoln, President Theodore Roosevelt, President Franklin Roosevelt, President John Kennedy, Reverend Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, George Washington Carver, and a few other true American heroes. My maternal grandfather immigrated to the United States in the 1950s. He had not returned to Panama until sometime in the early 1970s when I was really, really young. To this day, I remember picking up his shoes, looking at the soles and telling him, imagine these shoes walked in the United States. Such were the feelings one had for this land. As I see it, class warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. Let me tell you something, guys. I came here in the early 80s. Went to school here in the early 80s. And from Reagan came in to power, I watched the decline of America relative to the rest of the world. Not the growth of America. And we have been trying. I was political from the time I got here, being at the University of Texas, marching for the divestiture of South Africa, marching for improving or the way we treat people, marching for all these other things. But just watching the exponential decline, because when I came here, the decline was slight. I remember Jimmy Carter put solar panels on the White House. Jimmy Carter started the Sin Fuel program. Things that, in as much as Sin Fuel was an issue, because we don't know if it was green energy or not, because even though it's recyclable, but he started programs to move us off of the burning oil and move us to the future green energy back in the 70s. And Reagan came into power. Just like, Reagan was no different than Trump. Reagan just had more class than Trump. That's all. He had more class than Trump. But he removed the solar panels. He destroyed sin fuels. He went ahead and went straight into supply side economics, where it wasn't about who made things, who created things, the intellect of people. It was about how to make a buck for those who do the least. And our economy has been that since then. Other countries reward teachers. When I saw a teacher in a commissary, in a store, I stood at attention. That was a teacher. Whether it be English, whether it be anything else. You know? Respect. In America? Teachers, the most important profession bar none. No respect. They don't even want to pay them. Your kids spend over 8 hours a day with these teachers. They spend more time with the teachers than they spend with you. You don't want your taxes to pay them. How insane. How insane. We continue to progressively make ourselves dumber. And just like Neil deGrasse Tyson says, it's that slope down not to mediocrity, but to irrelevance. China is doing a hell of a job making America irrelevant. Like I said a couple of shows back, we're just going to be a big country with a big military that people use to blow up stuff as everybody else innovates. Michael Rudnin said the following. Let me find the message. Egberto, I hope you read this rant out in full. I'll oblige because I like it. 2/3 of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, one medical emergency away from bankruptcy. The neoliberal economy the establishment Democrats push since Bill Clinton isn't working. The problem being the Republicans and their trickle-down austerity economic politics are much worse. So you have to understand that Republicans are worse. But it doesn't make establishment Democrats good. The people are mad at this whole thing with good reason. Until Democrats become a party of working class again, we are going to continue to see conservatives voting against their own interests. And let me tell you what I love. Why I so love Mandami. Because Mamdani knows how to express that which is the progressive mantra. And there are a lot of Democrats I know could do it, but they're so damn scared that pointing these things out, they're going to be labeled with the big C or the big S. To which I say this, don't worry about that. Support the policies that support people. Support the policy that supports people. And I don't care what the hell they want to call it. You don't call it anything. You just call out your policies one by one. Call them out and tell the people what you're going to do for them. And if people attempt to stop you or label it, let the people know that they are the ones that are so much harm in it. E2247, how you doing, my brother? Great to see you in the house. I have another TikTok I want to show you. I'm changing the subject a bit, unless somebody wants to call in and tell their piece at 281-823-7747. 281-823-7747. Let's see, replying to Forbes. So it's called the reestablishment of. So actually, if you read the the Constitution in the Oklahoma Bible, that's exactly what they want to do. The Oklahoma Bible gets rid of keeps the 10 commandments, not the 10 First Amendments, which are known collectively as the Bill of Rights to the Constitution. Get rid of the rest, which means, and by the way, the Constitution in that Bible as well has the 3/5 compromise in there as well. So yours truly, hey, I lost 2/5 of myself, according to that book. I am back to 3/5 of a person. I love it. I would like to lose I wouldn't want to lose 2/5 of my weight. But man, if I could lose about 10% of my weight, so maybe I'll compromise. Can you make me maybe 9/10 of a man? It's how damn funny. All right, let me show you this other one. And this is kudos to women. Let me first give an ode to women. Women, I love you to death. You're the ones that are going to save this country, because the men, for all practical purposes, are wimps. The men, for all practical purposes, are wimps. Hakeem Jeffries, wimp. Chuck Schumer, wimp. Donald Trump, wimp. The people I see making changes in this country are the people who have had it the hardest in this country. Women, my ode to you. In Kingwood, the people that are fighting our battles, women. Women. To which I say, women, save us. Brother Ray Brackens, talk to me.
Yeah, I heard you on that, brother. I definitely, agree with all of your sentiments there. I mean, we have a Congress and essentially a broken checks and balances system, which has conceded all of its power to the executive. And the thing about it is, there used to be a point where they actually believed in the separation of church and state, but after Trump got in and Project 2025, they're not making it a secret that they don't believe in that, and they never did. Really, it's like it's always been. I mean, think about it. You see, in God we trust on the money.
You know what, Ray? Can you stay on the line? Ray, can you stay on the line? I want to play another TikTok because you just tickled the fancy. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll come back to it. I don't think it's very long, because I want people to hear this. And this is one of the other reasons I talk about loving women and what they're doing. I want you to see how this woman took care of her boys, listening to the evil of what Charlie Kirk represents. Check this out. Let me put it on the screen first. There we go. I think I can get it on. Here we go.
Young men don't like taking orders from women. I'm sorry, it's just a fact of life. Education is incredibly feminine. in its approach and also in its staffing. 75% of teachers before 8th grade are women. Nothing against women teachers, but this is a truism of life.
What does TRISM mean?
Trust, risk, and security management. How is that supposed to make you feel?
But it's supposed to make you feel like men should not be taking orders from women.
What does he say after that?
Teachers before 8th grade are 75% women.
And then combine that with young men don't like taking orders from women. What is that message saying?
He's saying that boys like us do not like taking orders from teachers.
Who benefits if you believe this message?
Young men, because it's saying that if you're a young man, you should not take orders from women because it doesn't make you feel good. Trust, risk, and security management.
What do you think he is implying that the problem is?
Trusting a woman teacher is risky.
According to him, for who?
Young men.
And how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel like he is very incorrect. Makes me angry.
If your best friend believed this message, how would it affect him?
Probably wouldn't listen to woman teachers. It would just be a big mess.
Does it kind of give misogynistic vibes?
Yeah.
How could this message be improved?
Even if you don't like your teacher, you still should respect them because they're trying their hardest to teach you stuff. It doesn't matter if you already know how to do this. It's like a review for you. Listen, don't interrupt or anything. Maybe you learned something you didn't know.
That's right.
Young men don't like...
Oh, okay. Yeah, Michael, of course it's edited. I don't have a problem with it being edited at all. In fact, that what she's trying to do is to get the particular message out. What she's doing with those young boys is so very important. It is so very important what she did. Were you able to hear that, Ray Brackens?
Yes. And I mean, it gives me hope that there are some young men out here that are not, taking the poison as it is. And
let me tell you,
subscribing to this whole...
Ray, when I saw this, you know what turned me on about it? These are the boys who are listening to that crap in the game rooms and in the chat because they don't have parents that are nurturing them, right? And I mean, so you see all these killers with the guns and the way they think and the toxic masculinity and all that crap. To see that there is a woman talking to her kids like that and pointing out these things, because I'm telling you, I remember when I was growing up and I still hear my mother's voice. I'm an old man now. I still hear the training that my mother gave me, my daddy gave me. I still hear it in my head. When I'm about to do certain things, that little voice is still there. And my parents started with me from my birth. And what this woman is doing will leave much more in that kid's head than trying to change him after he's been taken over by social media and all of that. If he goes into social media, these two kids go into social media, but having that seed that she's planted in their head, big difference. Continue, my brother. Sorry for the soliloquy, but I just needed to say that.
No, you're on point. And basically, to anybody that, still believes that a woman can't be a president or any high-ranking official or executive in our government, I mean, you don't really have to look very far than your own mother.
Yes.
Your own mother was the general, the president, the manager, the nurse,
right,
all of the above within your household. And guess who had a better life because of it? The man in the mirror.
Yes, exactly.
And they don't think about that. They don't think about the fact that your mother has sacrificed so much. And unfortunately, I'm going to just put a disclaimer. Some people have not had that experience with their mother.
Right.
And to them, I do apologize. But in the general sense, a mother has been the executive of all of our lives at some point. And they made sure that whatever was going on in our lives, it didn't derail us from being the best person we can be. And I can only think, because people looked at Kamala Harris and said, oh, she's a childless cat lady, blah, blah. Because she wasn't a mother, that automatically disqualified her from having some of those qualities. And should I say it that, if she would have had the opportunity, she could have been the best mother to this country that we could have had. And I'm not saying she would have been perfect, but she would have been the best mother.
But let me just make a small correction, my brother. Kamala was a mother. You ask her husband's kids that are very close to both her and their blood mother. They are close to their blood mother, and they're close to Kamala. And Kamala nurtures those kids, I should say. It's a girl and a boy. You watch that. You don't listen to what's said. You watch the relationship Kamala had with those two kids, and when she was made the the presidential nominee, you saw the unadulterated love that those kids had for her, because if you see the interviews of what kind of a mother she was to them. So no, it's crap. You don't have to birth a child to be a mother. You don't. So she was a mother. She was a mother. But anyway, I got to get out of here, my dear brother. Thank you for calling me and always keeping me on my toes as well. All right?
All right, brother. I'll keep listening. I'll keep supporting.
Absolutely. Thank you. Anyway, folks, we're out of time. I think I got through most of the videos that I wanted to show. But remember that you can get the rest of the videos at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, where I go ahead and I put everything out. Please remember to support the program however you can. We really need your support to keep this thing going. It's not an easy task to do. So please support the program. Anybody who is a paid subscriber of the program get all our books on the Substack platform free of charge. In other words, your subscription to Politics Done Right gives you more than just a subscription. So I ask you so kindly to keep us doing this. Your subscription doesn't only subsidize this program, it subsidizes all that I do on TikTok, Instagram, KPFT, because KPFT doesn't pay me. All of this is volunteer stuff. All of this is on a volunteer basis, which you support with your subscription to our platform. And that is what we do. So I ask again kindly, please go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Again, that is politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. I'm putting it in the thing and in the chat, and become a paid subscriber. And again, we give on the weekends. We also have a special show for you. I haven't had one in 2 weeks because I am busy up the gazoo, trying to get all these videos and stuff out. I really need an assistant, but I can't afford an assistant right now. If I can get 500 more subscriptions, which would pretty much double paid subscriptions, which would pretty much double what we got now. I think we got like 460 or something. Actually, it's 455. I think we got right now, a little bit over that. We need about 1,200 altogether to be able to get a couple of people part-time helping us out. But until then, it's just 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. So please subscribe as best you can. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Anyhow, I want to thank you. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.